So, what can we do about all this? What are some strategies that we can employ to help us sleep better? More sleep, as I alluded to earlier, more sleep is lost through worrying about not sleeping than any other cause. We can get ourselves so stressed about not being able to get to sleep that it causes us not to sleep. And therefore bed becomes associated in our mind with, I'm afraid I might not sleep well tonight, and becomes an anxiety for us. What is needed is to change this to a more helpful association with great bed and having a good night's sleep. We need to make that connection. So paradoxical intention, as we call it, aims to decrease the behaviour of trying too hard to get to sleep. If we try too hard, it will impede our sleep. So we do the opposite. You actually try to stay awake. You know, try to keep yourself up. Keep watching television. Keep every time you fall asleep, stand up. Try to do something else to keep yourself awake for a while, and that will actually decrease the anxiety associated with trying to sleep. As I said earlier, there are waves of sleepiness every 60 to 90 minutes. So falling asleep is a bit like surfing, using a surfboard. You have to catch the wave of sleepiness. So if you miss one wave, then you need to wait for the next one. It's no use going to bed if you've been sleepy and now you feel awake again. You should stay up or read or do something else until you feel sleepy again. Otherwise you'll just lie in bed and toss and turn, and that then leads to that feeling of anxiety about not being able to get to sleep. Some strategies for trying not to worry about not getting to sleep are very important, and some of these are reframing the problem that you're thinking about, e.g. I'll go crazy if I don't get enough sleep. Instead say, what's the worst thing that could happen if I don't sleep at all? I'll be really tired tomorrow, this will be unpleasant, but I won't die from this, so you know, I can live with that. And being positive about it. I know I will get to sleep tonight. It might take me a little while, but I will get to sleep. So I'll just think of much more pleasant time and pleasant things. I won't focus on work. I won't allow myself to think about work. And then I'll be able to get to sleep. Some people have a specific time set about during the day, or often during the early evening, where they get all their worrying out of the way. Now, and writing that down can be really useful. So having a worrying time where we think about all the things that we have to do tomorrow, and then we put an end to that. We say, well, I'm not going to worry about that anymore. I'm going to put that out of my mind, and I've dealt with those things, and I'm going to focus on getting to sleep and focus on the family and focus on positive things, planning a holiday or planning a project in the garden or in the house or whatever it might be. Other people keep a worry diary where they actually write their worries down, and that gets it out of your system. It's as if you've dealt with that issue. These are the things I have to deal with tomorrow, rather than and putting that away, and now that's over. We can employ thought-stopping mechanisms. I will not allow myself to think about work. I will not allow myself to think about my financial concerns, and then focus on much more positive things. So we call that thought-stopping, and we just have to be really strict on ourselves, and I will not allow myself to think about that worry. Then there's thought switching. Whenever we find ourselves lapsing into thinking about something that we don't want to think about, we replace that with some positive image. A place where we love to go, a place that we saw on holidays, a beautiful waterfall, a lagoon where we went swimming, or a mountain pass, or whatever it might be. Something very pleasant that we associate with pleasant memories. Think about past holidays or plan new ones. This is a very important point, and that is that we shouldn't lie in bed awake for long periods of time. If you don't fall asleep within the first 30 minutes, you should get up again. Go and do something else. You know, turn television on, watch something very boring, which late at night is pretty easy, or go to another room, and we should go to another room. Should not have a television in your bedroom. That's not a good idea, because you lay in bed and then you associate watching television with being in bed rather than sleeping and being in bed. So go to another room and do something that is not too arousing. You don't want to wake yourself up more. So read a magazine, read a book. You know, reading for me is almost a trigger to put me to sleep. And the annoying thing about that is I can only usually read 4 or 5 pages before I fall asleep. So it takes me a month to read a book, but that's okay. You should be in a room that has very low light, so just enough so you can read, so that you're not over aroused. And then you go to bed again when you start to fall asleep, or as soon as you start to fall asleep, you go back to bed. Reading in bed is okay, because if you associate it with going to sleep. But if you find yourself laying in bed, you need to get up and go to another room. So you associate that other room with where you can't sleep, but bed with where you can sleep. You can lie there and just continue resting, and this is okay. So as long as you're resting peacefully and thinking peaceful thoughts, don't let yourself stray to thinking about work and all the things you have to do tomorrow. As soon as you do that, you give yourself an adrenaline surge, and that prepares you for more activity. Actually makes you feel like you should be running around, doing something physical. So you should only go to bed initially when you're sleepy. Just saying, oh, it's 11 o'clock, I have to go to bed now, is not the best thing if you don't feel sleepy. If you feel sleepy at 11 o'clock every night, then that's okay, that's good. But you should go to bed when you're sleepy, not because of what time it is. The next point is one of great conjecture. How soon before your bed should you stop doing something mentally involving, like work? Too many people do work before they go to bed. Some people say it's 3 hours, but some people say 6 hours before you want to go to sleep. You should not do any work, or be involved in work-like activities, or something that is physically, or not physically, mentally stimulating. But most people in the field say that at least 2 hours before you sleep, you shouldn't be doing anything that involves a lot of mental activity, and that includes studying, for those of you who might still be doing qualifications. It's much better for you if you stop at least 2 hours before. And here's a really important point: never check your emails just before you go to bed, or even within 2 hours before you go to bed, because as soon as you start reading those emails, that will trigger an adrenaline rush again, and you'll start thinking of all the things you have to do tomorrow. So no sooner than 2 hours before you go to bed should you look at your emails. So, and don't think of the bedroom as a problem-solving place. Don't get focused on your problems while you're trying to go to sleep, because that will be then a negative connection. You will do that during your sleep, but don't do it while you're trying to get to sleep.